We move now to the final category in the report, which is the regulation of labour, credit and business. To speak to us on that, we have John Dludlu, who is the former Sowetan editor and currently CEO of the Small Business Institute. And his varied career includes positions at the Business Day, and he's been involved in teaching, journalism, corporate and public affairs, and is a master's graduate of the Rhodes University. So to talk on the friction that government introduces into the economy, please welcome John Dludlu.
Thank you very much, Neil, and to fellow panelists. And thank you for inviting us to participate in this. I would like to congratulate the Free Market Foundation for organizing this world-class event. It's very important that we have reports and discussions like this because they keep us honest and on our toes. I want to limit my remarks to the area of small business in South Africa, how regulation and deregulation can assist, and how red tape is stifling the growth of SMEs in South Africa. In a study that we did 2.5 years ago, we found that 98% of the South African economy is made up of small businesses, both informal and the formal sector ones. However, their contribution to employment is pitiful. It's like 28%. Now, that makes us, as an economy, an outlier economy, because in very successful and progressive economies, SMEs tend to contribute anything between 60 and 80% of jobs in the economy. Now, that's also, to put this into context, the NDP, National Development Plan, says by 2030, we should be creating 90% of all jobs in South Africa from the small business segment of the economy. And yet, we're continuing to stifle their growth. How are we doing this? Through red tape mainly, and layering one piece of legislation upon another piece of legislation. Let me just give you an example. There is now a new amendment to the National Small Enterprise Act, which is envisaged, and it will create a new institution called the SME Ombudsperson. Now, we know that in our country, we have a very poor track record of creating new institutions. It's going to take years, and we're going to create new industries about how to access the help that is envisaged in this new institution. And we've abandoned very good and well-intentioned policies such as Section 18 of the National Small Business Act. What this section says is, it says that for every minister, government department, whether it's local government, before you contemplate a new legislation, you must do an impact assessment on how it's going to affect the small business segment of the economy. Since 1995, we haven't implemented this act. In fact, we have now abandoned it, this section, almost completely. Instead of the regulatory impact assessment, we're doing a socio-economic impact assessment, which is less rigorous. Now, if you look at the report does not paint a very good picture, but it merely confirms what we already know, especially as SME operators. In a study in 2013, we found that SME owners were spending as much as 9 working days a month just on complying with regulations, bylaws, especially at the local government level. That's where the problem is biggest. So we have slipped on both regulation as well as on red tape. However, the picture is not that bad. Let me end by giving my thoughts about what could be done. I think it's good that as many people, right from the president to the new councillors which are going to be elected, everyone is now talking about red tape reduction. But we have to move from talking to doing. What needs to be done? First, I think we need to revert to that Section 18 of the Small Business Act and make every minister, every government minister must be a minister of small business in our country. They must think small first before they layer out new regulations and new laws. And then the second idea is to actually ask the ecosystem itself what works, what does not work. So we are proposing, and we'll be proposing this afternoon at NEDLEC, SME work stream, that government must actually go out and partner with the private sector in asking the SME ecosystem what works and what does not work. And obviously, lastly, there's a huge opportunity that is coming to fix dysfunctional municipalities on November 1 through electing people who are close to the communities and people who really, really prioritize the small business segment of the economy. I thank you. Back to you, Neil.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Yes, I think the biggest issue in South Africa today is unemployment. And I'm at least pleased to see that the report recognises that fact in two metrics in that category that you've discussed here, collective bargaining and hiring and firing practices. South Africa scores the worst in the world. So if we are ever to meaningfully impact on unemployment, we are going to have to address the elephant in the room, which is the sort of the labour legislation that has effect in this country.